It's one thing to lose to the New York Mets, but it's another thing to get outscored the last two games 15-4, 8-2 today as we welcome you to Phillies Postgame Live, presented by our friends at Cure Auto Insurance. I'm Michael Barkan with Ben Davis, John Kruk. In just a moment, we'll hear from Rob Thomson. Game number one in the books. And I would say, Ben, any questions? We knew that the Mets were better. We just didn't think the Phillies were going to help them to it as much as they did today. Both sides of the ball, if you will.
UGLY. That game was ugly. Just another dud. I feel terrible for the fans there. I went over there for a couple innings today and just nothing to cheer about. It was just bad all the way around. It was bad pitching, bad offense, obviously 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position, only 5 chances. And a couple of those happened there in the last inning. But it was just a bad performance all the way around. I'm looking at this team right now like, do they want to make the playoffs? Because they're not playing like they want to make the playoffs right now. You could probably say, yeah, we want to make the playoffs. But they're not showing me anything right now. They're just kind of rolling over against this Mets team that this team now has 78 wins. 78-43 are the Mets. And they're playing like it's the first game of the year, trying to make it 1-0. I just don't see out of the Phils right now.
Phillies 2 for 12 this series with runners in scoring position. 2 for 12, 17 left on base. And by the way, they're not winning this series against the New York Mets either. That's for sure. Might split it, but they're not winning it. As we go across the way to check in with John Kruk, called today's game with Tom McCarthy. John, you had said that the Mets are a better team than the Phillies. That is evident. But how do you put that aside if you're the Phils, still try to win a couple of games left against the Mets and beat the doormats that are coming in next week in Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, and you go to Arizona?
This is part of the grind. And you know, this happens. You know, I've had so many people text me and whatever and say, you know, well, the Phillies are lifeless. They need some fire in that dugout. When you're not scoring runs, and you're striking out a bunch, and you're leaving a bunch of runners on base, runners in scoring position on base, yeah, you're lifeless because you have nothing to cheer about. And right now, in these two games, the Phillies really have had nothing to cheer about in that dugout.
He goes 4 earned runs, 5 1/3. That's a 6.75 ERA. Sometimes the numbers don't tell the whole story, but sometimes they do, John. Why would you do that?
Michael, I have no idea. I just wonder if the Phillies won yesterday. I wonder if Zach would have pitched tonight instead of this afternoon.
Because?
I think they lost yesterday. And I don't know what the thinking is down there in that clubhouse or the dugout, but you wonder if their thinking was, you know, we lost the first game in this series with Aaron Nola pitching, and we have to win the second game if we want to win this series. So throw Zach Wheeler out there, and then you hope for good things from Bailey Falter at night, but you know, in the night game. But you know, it just sucks because it didn't work out.
Yeah, backfired.
John, we talked about before the game how you got to stop the top of this offense. 6 for 13, 3 RBIs, 4 runs scored for the Mets, whereas the Phillies 1, 2, 3, just 1 for 12 with 4 punchouts.
Yeah, well, I mean that's the difference to me in this series. What the main guys in that lineup, and Nimmo gets on base, but Marte, Lindor, and Alonso. You know, it just seems like in these two games, if one doesn't get you, the other one will, and if that one doesn't get you, then the third one will, and that's what's happening in this series. They're picking each other up. If one of them doesn't have a quality at bat, the next guy's picking them up, and you know, right now with the Phillies, when you're starting out without anyone on base for the first, hitter or two of the inning, and you got two outs and no one on base, it's tough to score that way. And I think let's put it this way. I'm going to be interested to see what the lineup is for the second game tonight. I really am. I think there has to be some changes 1 through 5.
John, they were outscored now, going back to last week against the Mets, outscored 23-6. That's an average of about 5 to a little more than 1. 5-1, and the 2 of those games were shutouts. So here's my question to you. You're not saying, you said during the game, you're not saying hit anyone, but the Phillies batters seemingly get hit on the regular. We know about Harper. Segura's been out. Vierling, Castellanos earlier in the season. When are the Phillies pitchers going to send messages of their own?
I said it on it. I'm not talking about like just going out and start drilling people, but you watch the takes that the Mets players are taking on pitches inside. They're not budging. And Pete Alonso, he's seeing the ball so well. He's getting pitches inside off the plate, and his feet haven't moved yet. And that's how locked in he is. And then they throw a slider away. Aaron Nola threw a couple breaking balls away. You thought, okay, he'll swing at that one. He ain't swinging at him. And that tells you that he's seeing the ball real well. But all I'm saying is, at some point, you got to make the other team a little uncomfortable. And like I said, I'm not saying throw up and in, up at their head, but I'm saying just throw something to move their feet a little bit.
Something. Here's the good news, John. You look great in blue. Makes your eyes pop, okay?
Oh, they do pop.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
That's all I have. That's the only good thing I have to say about anything at that ballpark today.
With the lack of sleep that I've had, I got patriotic eyes right now. They're red, white, and blue.
I hear you. We're just going to work on the blue for next time.
God bless America,
you
Michael.
You know it. And the mountains. Okay. Thanks, John.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
Right.
John Kruk joining us
See you guys.
from the ballpark. He's the man. Here's the wild card standings. Phillies still in the second spot. Padres playing a little bit later. Brewers are losing to the Cubs right now. They're just a game back of the final spot. And don't discount the Giants, Ben. They're 5.5 back of the last spot. They got to hop the Brewers and Padres right now. But they do host the Phillies at the end of next week. So that's not nothing. And I really am concerned about the confidence that might be seeping out of this Phillies team right now. Maybe that's overstated. Got a night game with the Mets. Then they got a final game of the season series tomorrow. They're not winning the season series against the Mets.
No, they're not. And it gets to a point where if you continuously get kicked and beat down, you start to maybe think, well, maybe I'm not that good. I hope that's not where this ball club is. I don't think that's where this ball club is right now. But the game of baseball is so stinking hard that doubt starts to set in. You could be 4 for 4 one night with 4 doubles, and next night you can go 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts, and you think you're the worst player in the world. It happens in the game of baseball, and that's why you can't get too high or too low. But right now, I can't imagine the spirits being any higher in the Phillies dugout right now. They just can't be. 2 strikes, that's what we've seen throughout this entire season with the Mets, is that their 2-strike approach, they stay in the middle of the field, foul pitches off, and don't strike out.
5 1/3 for Zach Wheeler, 5 hits, 4 earned runs, 6 strikeouts on 106 pitches. His ERA goes up to 3.07 in 23 starts this season. Look at the day-night season splits in 7-day starts. This is before today's game. He's 3-4 with a 4.82. Opponents hitting 264 off of him. Night games, 15 starts. He's 8-2 with a 2.17. He's almost 3 runs or 2+ runs higher during the day. How can you not look at that and say, you know what, Zach, come here. We really need you for the night game. Can't have you on the day game.
Those numbers do not lie. And you might say, well, it's not a big enough sample size. He had 15 starts at night going into today and 7 during the day. To me, that's a big enough sample size. To be almost 3 points higher in that ERA, that speaks volumes that he just isn't the same guy throughout the course of a day game. Those numbers are, again, but I think if you're looking at Rob Thomson, he probably said, Zach, you got to be my stopper. We've lost 3 in a row to the Mets. Could have been 4 in a row. They won last Friday at Citi Field in a miraculous fashion. But they were able to lose 3 in a row. We have to be that stopper. It has to end now. It just didn't work out that way for the Phillies today.
The Phillies are 4-13 this season against the Mets, and our coordinating producer, Casey Feeney, points out that none of those 4 Phillies wins are at the arm of Zach Wheeler or Aaron Nola. That would seem to be significant. You got your 2 aces, if you will, going against the New York Mets. One of them's a former Met, and they don't have any of the 4 wins, the paltry 4 wins that your club has. That says something that's not good.
Well, it's been like that, not with just the Mets, but the entire season. They don't have nearly enough wins as they should have when those 2 guys take the mound because of the low ERAs and because of the really low win percentage. It shouldn't be that way. It should be the opposite, thinking, listen, I got my dude going today. I know if we just get him a couple runs, we're going to be okay. It just hasn't been that way for Wheeler and Nola throughout the course of the season. I can't put my finger on it. It's just the way it's been this year. Run production has been at a minimum for these 2 guys.
You know that will be a question asked of Rob Thomson upcoming. Why Zach Wheeler in the day game of this day-night doubleheader? Why not save him for the night game when his numbers are so much better? By this time in the program, normally we have shown you Rob Thompson's interview, and he came out a little bit delayed were wondering whether he had anything to say behind closed doors to his team. Here's Rob Thomson post-game.
The fourth inning, that double steal, did you guys put a play on there?
Yeah. Yeah.
What went wrong in that play?
So Segi held up. So Segi took off and then stopped because he didn't want to be the third out on the swing through. So then the catcher kind of hesitated, which stopped Bryson at third base. If he had to come right through, Bryson probably scores easy. So Bryson had to hesitate because of the kind of pause from the catcher, and that's what created the run or created the out. So
So just good defense, you think?
yeah, I mean, I don't know whether he did that on purpose or he just saw Segi stop early, and so he paused and then gave it up.
Have you reached the point where you're a little bewildered by the inconsistency of the offense?
Yeah, well, yeah, as I've always said, you go through times like this and you keep encouraging them. You keep talking about, do little things, big things will happen, use the field. Don't try to do too much, but, we're going to come out of it at some point. But, it's frustrating at times, sure.
Is it hard to believe Wheeler and Nolan made 9 starts against this
Yeah.
team this year, and you guys lost all 9?
Yeah, yeah, it is. I don't know what to tell you about that, but wish we had a few wins in there. But they battle those guys pretty good. Wheels. I thought Wheels pitched well today. There was a lot of soft contact, but they grinded on him and got his pitch count up pretty good. So we had to go to the bullpen a little bit earlier than normal.
Do you think the guys could be pressing a little bit?
They might be. We're battling for a playoff spot. They just got to settle down and relax and know that we're a good ball club and just get back to what we do best.
Schwarber playing the second game?
Yes, he'll DH.
And this is obviously a huge spot for Bailey. What's your expectations for him?
Looking for him to throw strikes, change speeds, keep people off balance, get soft contact. Give us 6 innings, 6 solid innings, maybe 7. Be nice.
Anything notable in the lineup? Changes in the second game?
Let's see. JT's catching, Hoskins at first, Segura at second, Sosa at short, Bohm at third. And left will be Maton, Vierling, and Castellanos. Schwarber DH.
Do you have length behind Falter, or you had to kind of ride it?
We might.
So that's encouraging.
All right, 2 hits today for Nick Castellanos. Too many hits given up by Zach Wheeler, not to mention the 4 runs. Here he is just outside the Phillies clubhouse.
Today or the other day, so it's kind of frustrating.
Especially given the contact you're giving up, right?
Yeah, just getting a bunch of blue pits basically. A couple of hard hit balls in the past 2 games, and that's about it. So that's what's frustrating. I am making my pitches, hit my spots for the most part, and they're just getting some cheap hits, and it's part of baseball sometimes. And you got to try to limit the damage when that kind of stuff starts happening. You just can't let it keep rolling. So, yeah.
How frustrating have these struggles been against the Mets as a team? I guess it's like the one playoff team you guys can't seem to beat.
Yeah, we're having trouble against them, but we know what we got to do. We got to swing it a little better. We got to pitch a little better, and they grind out at bats, so it runs up our pitch count a little bit. But we just need to bear down as a team a little bit, and we're still a good team. We know what we're still capable of. So just got to keep our nose down and just keep grinding.
I know the other starts were earlier in the year, but was there one common denominator in your 4 outings against them that you feel like that you couldn't really nail down against them, or not?
I don't even know what I did the first 2 starts, to be honest with you. So the past 2, it's been just weak contact and just happened to get some hits, and guys are scoring. So I don't know. When the time comes to face them next, then we'll get to that point and figure it out.
Were you pleased with your command, or did you think that was off in spots and 4 walks?
Yeah, it's not like me. You know,
When walk was tough.
yeah, that was tough. You know, especially the way he's been swinging it lately. That's tough. So you know, it's one of those days that it's kind of iffy back there, and you still got to pitch, right? That's the tough part about it. And sometimes you throw it, and it's kind of, what are you going to call that type of thing? It's just one of those days.